Hey guys, Ron here. Hope everyone's well. Today, tonight, I should say, I'm just going to talk a little bit about a subject that, I get into these subjects. I study them intensely and then I don't think about them for 10 years and I start studying them again. Maybe some of you do that as well. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the ongoing and to this day war of words and allegations between Mia Farrow and her ex-boyfriend Woody Allen, and specifically the allegations of abuse from Mia Farrow's adopted daughter Dylan. So we'll talk about that. I'll talk about some of the leading up to it and aftermath, and we'll go from there. So, I've on this particular subject, I've read Mia Farrow's book. And I believe she wrote it in 1997, or at least it was published then, which is 5 years after the alleged incident took place. And then I even read Christy the Christy the nanny's book, who talks about it, who kind of who has sort of had mixed messages in court and then in her book. And so it's difficult to tell who's telling the truth here. And I've heard some of the statements of Dylan. I've seen Dylan interviewed there's a documentary, I think it was on HBO, Farrow versus Allen or something like that. That documentary I don't take too much stock in. It was very heavily it was very biased against Woody Allen and very much in favor of Mia Farrow and Dylan Farrow. So I don't know. I'd like to see a more objective piece. Of course, so were the two books that I read. So I don't know what to think. All I know is the incident was highly publicized after their highly public breakup. So here's what happens. We all know about Woody Allen, famous writer and then screenwriter and director. The man, you got to admire the fact that every winter he writes a movie, and then every summer he goes out and films that movie. And his sister is involved with being a producer, and he has a casting agent that he thinks of people and then sends them over to the casting agent, and they interview, and so many people in Hollywood have been in Woody Allen's pictures. So in 1980, Woody Allen had his first date with Mia Farrow. I believe that they had both been married twice before. Mia Farrow to Frank Sinatra, and then to Andre Previn. And Woody Allen, I don't remember his first wife, and I think his second wife was it Carol Kane, the actress? I apologize, I don't know about Woody Allen's two wives prior. Suffice it to say, they had their first date, I believe it was at Elaine's. And I know that in her book she said, should I call you Woody or Allen? Because Woody Allen's real name is Alan Konigsberg. I may be mispronouncing that. So anyway, they met, they started a relationship, and from that point on, as Woody Allen had done with I almost said Annie Hall, Diane Hall, her real name, Diane Keaton, Woody Allen started putting Mia Farrow in all of his movies. And for the next 12 years, they had a relationship, and she was in all his films, some darn good ones too. But Woody Allen refused to move in with Mia Farrow. Now, Mia Farrow already had adopted children when she met Woody Allen, and then there were two more adoptions, Moses and the girl Dylan, and then they actually had a child together named Satchel, who now calls himself Ronan. And there's drama around that because a lot of people think that he's actually the son of Frank Sinatra because he looks like Frank Sinatra. And there's been rumors for years that Mia and Frank Sinatra continued their relationship long after their divorce. The divorce was very sudden with Mia Farrow and Frank Sinatra. She was actually filming Rosemary's Baby in late 1967, and Frank wanted her to come and join him on a show he was doing called, I believe, The Detectives. And she was, committed to Rosemary's Baby, thank God, which was a huge film, a smash hit, a superb film. And He actually had Mickey Rudin, his lawyer, who was also Marilyn Monroe's lawyer. He had Mickey Rudin serve her divorce papers right there on the set of Rosemary's Baby. And then, of course, in the early spring, late winter, early spring of the next year, she famously went off to Rishikesh to be with the Maharishi, and the Beatles were there too. So anyway, but the theory is that they continued a relationship. So a bunch of adopted kids, including Soon Yi and Lark, Vietnamese and one Korean girl, for Mia, and Woody Allen keeping his New York apartment, so the two of them would never actually live together. And you know, if you watch Woody Allen's films, he talks about his own life all the time in the films. He talks about separate apartments, even in I think it was Annie Hall, being a little life ring, a life preserver to cling to when you need it. I mean, he's made no secret. If you want to learn about his life, unless you think he's horrible and disgusting, watch his films if you haven't already. And he shows a lot of himself in those films. Anyway, so the way that Mia describes it is that bless her soul, her adopted daughter Soon Yi was having a hard time as a teenager and as a young adult and in America and all of the above, and that a very hard time, and that she was raised by a prostitute in Vietnam and abandoned and so on and so forth, and that she was not socially adaptive, and that she urged Woody, her boyfriend at the time, to start spending time with her, which he resisted supposedly for a long time. And then he started taking her to basketball games, seeing the Knicks play, and that he at Mia's behest, started spending time with her. Well, eventually, in the summer of '92, I believe it was the summer, it might have been earlier, maybe it was late '91, Mia was at Woody's apartment and found nude photos of Soon Yi, and then of course confronted him, and eventually he and Soon Yi admitted that they were in a romantic relationship. And to say that Mia Farrow flipped out and was destroyed is really an understatement, and I say that just based on interviews I've seen with her, as I said, and her book, and Christy the nanny's book. Mia was completely and totally destroyed by this. She wanted to kill Soon Yi, she wanted to kill Woody, she wanted to kill herself at times. It was really a horrible time, and it was at a time when she and Woody was looking to adopt two of the kids. So Woody and Mia broke up over that incident, obviously. And then several months later, for reasons I'm not 100% sure of, although 2 days later, 2 days before Woody was about to sign an agreement regarding child support for some of the adoptive kids, at quite a lot of money, although why, they weren't married and they weren't his children, but for some reason he was now involved in what he later called hush money or blackmail money. Not blackmail, because everybody knew about the relationship, but hush money, as he called it later. He was supposed to sign paperwork on August 6th. Well, on August 4th, he came over to the house, and there were plenty of other people there to visit with the kids. There was obviously Dylan was there, Moses was there, but some of the other kids and Mia were out. So obviously she did not want to see Woody that day. And there was Christy, the babysitter. There was another babysitter there with some other kids. So there was several people like there. And I say Moses, who was 14 at the time, was sort of the self-appointed quote-unquote man of the house and was supposed to just watch everything that was going on. Now, Mia had already been vocal about the fact that Woody was very involved with Dylan. He seemed really interested in Dylan and seemed very close with her. Now, he would later say part of the reason is because he said that Mia was giving so much attention to Moses that he felt that Dylan was left out, and he just wanted to be was close with her. Anyway, the day after, nothing happened that day other than the following day, one of the other babysitters, not Christy, but one of the other babysitters, told her employer that she had seen Woody with his head in Dylan's lap. And then at some point when she related this, the friend related to Mia. Mia asked Christy. Christy at first said there was a short period of time where she could not find Dylan and she could not find Woody at the party. She looked outside, inside, but she assumed that they were outside. She couldn't find them in the house. I don't know how much she really looked for them and pursued them, or how much she pursued it and looked for them. Later on she kind of contradicted it and hinted at pressure from Mia and said that she really didn't think they were away from her sight more than 10 or 15 minutes. So again, a contradiction. Moses says that his sister Dylan was not away from him or was not missing with Woody for any period of time. So get these contradictory statements. Anyway, based on that statement from the babysitter and then from Christy, Mia took Dylan to a pediatrician, and there was no signs of anything untoward, but at some point she and Mia started videotaping confessions from Dylan, and Dylan said that eventually it came out that Dylan said that Woody had taken her upstairs to an attic, to a crawl space, where, by the way, that was forensically swept later, and there was not any proof that Woody had been up in that attic, and he claimed he had never been up in that attic. He also claimed he was very claustrophobic, which I tend to believe, but who knows, and that he wouldn't go in the attic. But anyway, she claimed, Dylan eventually, that he took her up to the attic and he touched her inappropriately. So there became the fight. Now, through all of this, Woody claimed, of course, that nothing ever happened, and that Mia was so angry about he having a relationship with her adopted daughter Soon Yi, that this was revenge and this was spite and this was just meant to destroy Woody. And of course, Mia claimed the opposite, that she believed her adoptive daughter, and that he had always seemed creepy around her and too close to her, and so on and so forth. And then, other stories were coming out that he had seemed close with her a lot, and the family became real divided. Moses said that Moses and Soon Yi both said that Mia had a terrible temper. She was abusive physically to them. She brainwashed them. That Woody Allen was innocent of this. This was all vindictiveness, and that basically it was made up, and that Dylan was either being manipulated or lying, or both. And of course, Dylan was the one relating the story, but she was just a very young child at the time. And Ronan, their actual child, Satchel, who later changed his name to Ronan, to this day says that he believes Mia and he believes his sister, his adoptive sister, Dylan. And Dylan to this day claims that it happened. Anyway, so this was given to the detectives in Connecticut where this allegedly took place. Connecticut finally turned to the sex abuse team at Yale University, and these three individuals, I believe it's 2 women and a man, or it might have been 1 woman, I don't remember how many, I don't remember what the gender makeup was, but it was definitely a mix of both genders. So with the 3 of them, these individuals concluded that there was not evidence that Dylan was molested. Supposedly Woody Allen took a polygraph test. I don't know if that happened. And there were other investigations that always concluded that there was no proof that this happened, and there was no physical proof. There was I don't think anybody came out and said that little Dylan at 7 was lying or specifically coerced by her mother, but Woody Allen was never charged. There was not sufficient evidence to charge him with this molestation. Even his therapist came out, a woman, I believe, who said that he never presented any, um, never presented to her that he was a sexual deviant, that a 56-year-old man would be inappropriately touching a 7-year-old. So where do you stand on it? I don't know. Some people, a lot of people, I remember my mother would always say, "Why are you watching this horrible Woody Allen movie?" She thought he was a little creep. This is before the abuse allegations, but just didn't like his nebbishy ways. And anyway, I said, hey, and some of the films are really good films. They win, Annie Hall won a bunch of Oscars. Anyway, so I'm not going to form a conclusion on this one. I just don't know. I should say that I'd be very surprised if it were true. I don't want to say that I think Dylan's lying. I really don't know what to say. I can't believe that this would actually, I guess it's just so aberrant and horrible to think that this could actually happen that I have a hard time believing that a man who's a competent professional, although, yeah, I really don't know which way to go. I hope it didn't happen. I don't think I hope it didn't happen. I hope so, for everybody involved. It really destroyed a lot of people in that family. That's all I can say. And Woody Allen went on 5 years later to marry Soon-Yi. They're still married to this day. I actually saw them once. I was going into the mall in Century City, Westwood, I guess it is, which is kind of near UCLA, near Century City, and crummy mall. In fact, I might have even closed it by now. But she was Soon-Yi was kind of pulling Woody into the big glass doors that are out on Pico Boulevard from the main street and he looked so frazzled. I mean, he just looked like he was completely out of it. I don't know what the deal was, but he looked like, again, I don't mean, he looked like he needed a nurse with him. But maybe he just looked confused and wasn't all that confused. But she definitely was guiding his arm into the mall. And then I read I wonder what he's doing in L.A. He famously hates L.A. Just watch Annie Hall. And he was attending some event that he was here for. It was publicized, so then I knew why he was here. Now let's look at these guys for a minute. Here they are. So, anyway, it's hard, to speculate and say, I think he seems like this, or she seems like this, or he seems, none of us were there, none of us know, and I just say, again, I hope it didn't happen, but those are the allegations. And, Mia Farrow is still acting as of the filming of this video, and Woody is still making films as far as I know, and he's still married to Soon-Yi, and Dylan, I hope the trauma that she allegedly went through isn't too traumatic for her life. I'm not sure what she's doing exactly now. I know Ronan is a journalist, though, and I'm not sure what all the other kids are doing. I believe Lark died, which is very sad. Anyway, so I'll just leave it there with these guys. They have an opinion for sure. All right, guys, so Ron here. If you like the channel, please subscribe. If you do subscribe, please hit the little bell icon next to the subscription button, and you'll be notified as to when I post. And also, please give the channel likes, folks. I really appreciate it. I work hard at doing it. I'm starting to make pennies. And it would be nice to at least make gas money for these videos, from where I drive to and from to film for you. They have an opinion too. All right, guys. I'll see you at the next location. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching.